Works out. Now,
And
can
Sun-
I just
Yeah.
can I try this without the headphones?
Yeah, sure.
Just for fun while we're at it. Let's
Yeah.
see if it'll still work.
You'll have to. I might
Okay.
have to
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you fine.
Okay, cool.
Hear you fine.
They were just kind of bugging me.
Oh, the headphones are bugging you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you make everybody else wear them, but not you. Rules for thee, but not for me.
That's how it works. When So this is an hour long. Oh yeah, I remember Cody. Yeah. Yep. Sure. Yeah, we've got slightly different logos now, but they're not too different. So
now, I'm hearing some noise. Is that noise coming from Pierre's area?
Probably the airport stuff.
Ooh. Okay.
My ear's quiet. I don't have anything going on here. I haven't locked my door. So this is an hour live, Kurt?
Yeah,
really?
it's an hour live. It'll fly by. An hour will go by, and you'll go, "What? Are we done already?"
Well, I never see because I have to be really careful about like company secrets. They get super twitchy about stuff.
Okay. Well,
I thought
we'll
this
ask
was
you
like
to
a
disclose.
recorded thing.
We'll wait for the end. That way, you can disclose the secrets, and they won't have time to shut them off. All right, I am working to distribute the show to different places.
I looked up Kotzebue. That place, you were like right on a little peninsula there.
Yep.
That's a wild place. Talk about way up north. I bet you guys get to see the Northern Lights really well.
All the time.
Wow.
Actually, they're moving south, the Ring of Fire.
Yeah. Well, we saw. I haven't actually seen him here in Chicago, but I've seen him in Wisconsin. So we just have too much light here, unfortunately, to be able to see him.
Yeah, our peninsula is called Kikitagruk, which means almost an island.
All right, I'm still working to get the show to. I'm telling you that Facebook is just a pain in the. It seems like every week their paradigm changes. Every week it's different.
It's just like the Tesla car app.
Oh, is it different every time?
They're horrible. Well, people call up saying, "Hey, I can't pick you guys up anymore. You have a Tesla?" Yeah. Okay, well, they're morons.
Oh my goodness. All right, one more share here. Man, it takes a lot of clicks to do what used to take just a few.
Yeah,
So how many people watch this
is about a Ford Lightning.
I'm sorry, several people talked at once. I think the question, the first one I heard was, how many people watch this? You know, live, sure. it may be 10 people and it may be 200. Okay. The most distribution comes from people downloading it automatically. They've set their podcast catcher to grab it. We have had as many as about 7,000 downloads, but interestingly, that was on an episode where we talked about very generic stuff like XLR connectors. When we talk, the more specific broadcast stuff we talk about, the fewer people watch the show. we probably have. I'm going to guess. I don't know. Everywhere I go, I get people mentioning it. People that I hadn't heard before mentioning it.
Yeah.
All right, Suncast. I'm guessing we're about ready to go here. You're ready? Awesome. Well, I'm ready. I can't believe this is episode 720, and here we are talking to engineers at two stations that are 720. That was what a happy accident that was. That's thanks to Pierre, but man, what a happy accident.
Thanks,
I don't think Pierre.
Really cool.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Give me 10 seconds. My printout is on the printer. Okay, thank you for your patience. See, this tells me how I'm supposed to do the show. All right. Let's see. Hi, everybody on the network. We're so glad you've joined us for episode 720, and this is just amazingly themed. What a happy accident this was. And we're going to start this week in Radio Tech for October 31st, Halloween Day. And we'll start this in 3, 2. Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. I'm Kirk Harnack, your host. So delighted that you've joined us today. This is our 720th episode. We just keep rolling right along. I don't know when I'm going to quit. Part of that's depending on our producer, Suncast. How long will he continue doing this? Because we've got guests lined up for weeks and weeks, and I'm delighted to have our guest today. By the way, little note: Chris Tarr, my usual co-host, he can't be with us today. The power is out. He's roughing it at his house today. He is off the grid. What's ironic, and this has happened at my house too. But what's ironic is Chris's power is out because the tree trimming crews that trim the trees so they don't bend over and knock the power out during a storm. Yeah, that process is what killed the power, apparently. So maybe Chris will make it in. They were estimating that the power would be back on about an hour and a half ago, and it was not. And they've updated the estimation to where it'll be back on in 2 hours from now. So anyway, Chris probably won't be here. But if you buy a miracle, you find some battery power and you can join us, please do. Okay, I'm here in Nashville, Tennessee in the Telos Alliance studio. Let's turn the light on here so we all... Hello? There it is. All right. Our torch sign from Charles Sather. All right, on today's show, it's number 720, and here's the happy accident that I referenced earlier. So, there are several radio stations across the USA that are licensed to transmit at 720 kilohertz, or 0.72 megahertz. Well, a few weeks ago, a gentleman who is known to us, he's been on the show before, Pierre Lone Wolf. He is the chief engineer at KOTZ in Kotzebue, Alaska. Well, he suggested, hey, 720 kilohertz. So, there's another big station on 720 in Chicago. Why don't we do a show together, me and whoever that engineer is? I said, I know that engineer. That's Bill Murdoch. So, ladies and gentlemen, here on the screen, if Suncast can get everybody on at once, I don't know if he can. It's Pierre Lone Wolf and Bill Murdoch are with us here. Both of them engineer for stations. There's Pierre. By the way, Pierre, where are you at, Pierre? Looks busy.
I'm in Albuquerque right now.
That's not Kotzebue. That's completely different.
I attended a board meeting for Kohanic Broadcasting, which does National Native News and Native America Calling, and we were a sponsor for the World Indigenous Business Forum. So that's why I'm here.
Good deal. Ben, are you headed home now?
Yes, we're at the airport. Had trouble with Alaska Airlines not opening check-in for a half hour late, going through security, finding a quiet spot, but I'm here.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and I understand your wife, Rosie, is with you. So hello to Rosie. Glad she's with you. And we're going to, I guess, Justin, let me ask you this. Are you going to get called to board anytime soon, or do you have the whole hour with us?
Our plane takes off at 4:40 local, so I got the time.
Okay, good deal. Well, our other guest is smiling at us from his palatial office in Chicago, Illinois, and that's Bill Murdoch. Hey, Bill, good to see you.
I don't know if I call it palatial, but it's the office.
You've got a window office. That's nice in downtown Chicago, right?
It's true. It works out. I can see the river. So when they die,
okay.
and stuff, we can see the dying of the river. Very exciting for St. Patrick's Day. Yep. And then we can see the lake out of Studio A.
My brain went to the same place. Can you see them make the river green? And that obviously, yes. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, you've been on our show before also, haven't you?
No, I have not. This is my first time. So
Oh, that's right. You and I did a lot of video interview about your
correct.
Telos Infinity intercom system. That's right.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and that ties in with your Telos VX system. So we got the introductions out of the way. Pierre, you're the one that had the idea for this show. And before we go to our first quick break from Nautel, Pierre, what was your inspiration? What made you think, hey, why don't we get two of these? I'm on 720. Why don't we find another engineer on 720 and talk about interference or propagation or transmitters or whatever? What gave you that inspiration?
Well, just like all my good or bad ideas, it just popped into my head.
Well, see, I thought you were going to credit Rosie with that.
Well, if she wants it, she can have it.
Okay. All right. Well, let tell you what, just so we can have in our mind before we go to this first break, Pierre, your facility, KOTZ. Now you've got some FM there, but your AM at 720. Tell me about the licensed facility. What are you licensed for there?
Okay, we have unlimited hours, 10,000 watt, non-directional system that's been running since 1973. Yeah, 1973 is when we got our license, and we're a public radio station in Northwest Alaska. We have 6 full-time staff and volunteers, and we do fundraisers and all that stuff. Sell T-shirts to keep us going.
So, and your tower is what, a quarter wave, something taller than that? What is it?
Quarter wave tower. It's a pi rod, solid rod. I don't like hollow tube towers. And that's actually our second tower. Our first one got hit by a plane in 2001. And so we had to rebuild after that incident.
Oh my goodness! I was going to mention that you guys are close to an airport. I used to fly little planes, haven't in quite a while, but people oftentimes use AM radio stations as an NDB, a non-directional beacon, because they tend to get out a lot farther than the little, 25 watt or whatever the regular FAA's NDBs are. Although I must say, my stations in American Samoa, we're familiar with the airport there, and they have a 10,000 watt non-directional beacon in American Samoa with a horizontal antenna. Pierre, are you aware of airplanes using your station to find the airport?
Oh yeah. The pilots tell me all the time for the last 50 years they tune their AM radios. Airplane radios are still AM. Don't ask me why, but they tune to us and they use us as the non-directional beacon. When they first went on the air, we were actually diplexed to the non-directional beacon north of town with a flat top T antenna. We had a diplexer made by Hammett and Edison, and I credit those guys with teaching me antenna tuning units. But because if you can do a diplexer, you can do a single ATU, no problem.
No problem. Yeah. I hear you.
Dane Erickson
Bill Murdoch,
was the guy. Come think of it.
Oh yeah, Dane Erickson. Sure, I've met Dane. Yeah. Bill Murdoch, you're in a similar situation. You got a 720 antenna, and it's close to an airport. Tell me about your situation.
We do. We're just slightly west of O'Hare Airport here in Chicago, and it's kind of neat. We have the call letters in the grass. They're like 50 feet tall, so you can see them when you're landing. So it's kind of fun, and also it depends how much. We've kept the grass clean around where they're at, but it's kind of neat. They're concrete blocks that are in the grass with rocks in the middle. But and if you go to Google Earth, but if you have to go through the different time, and you could go through the different time frames, and you can see the letters in the grass. So it's pretty wild. And
I might steal that idea.
Yeah, and even to the left of it, there's an arrow, and it's got the latitude and longitude, pointing at the tower. So it's kind of neat. And it's only just the 4 digits of the latitude, longitude. So you just have degrees and minutes, no seconds. So it's kind of
neat. Bill, we'll fly a drone, take pictures, and do another show from your transmitter site if you will arrange block letters to say "Welcome to Milwaukee."
Or do you want the This Week in Radio Technology on there?
A TWiRT logo would be fine. And then at KOTZ, what could you put? Welcome to Gnome.
You know, I'd have to figure that out. It'd have to be via 17 panels or sheets or something. You know, they'll be black for winter. You know, white for summer. You know.
Oh gosh! All right. Well,
okay. Panels, maybe those would melt then. So
what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of it. What?
If you did them in solar panels, they may keep the snow off. Would they melt or not?
We have 1.2 megawatts of solar panels right around us.
Well, see, they should get rearranged to spell something interesting and useful.
I'll bring that up. I'm on the board of directors of the co-op, so I'll bring that up.
Somehow, I think that won't be a priority. But anyway, they used to paint the name of the town on the water tower, and that had to be for the pilots, right? You know, Welcome to Smithville, or something, or just Smithville. Unless you're in northern Kentucky, then it's Florence, y'all. Or there's a little town in Mississippi where there's two identical water towers, a couple 100 feet apart from each other, and one says hot and the other one says cold.
That's cute.
Oh man! Hey, guys, we're gonna jump right into pictures and stories here in just a minute. It's This Week in Radio Tech, our 720th episode. I'm Kirk Harnack. It's brought to you in part by Nautel, and we've been talking about this a while. We're going to talk about it a little bit longer, and that is the Nautel HD Radio Test Drive. It's an offering intended to break down those barriers that are keeping many broadcasters from trying HD radio. HD radio transmission has the potential to create a critical presence on the car dashboard and help stations stay competitive in a field of choices. And, those media choices came along technologically later than radio. So that's why, Spotify and Sirius XM and so many other services will put graphics right there on your dashboard. And to do that with radio, you need to be HD radio. It's an easy, minimal cost option to turn on HD radio transmission so you can try new revenue generating opportunities. You can experiment with new formats, languages, or even short-term pop-up event stations. You can counter competing alternate media. And hey, frankly, you can counter some competing media that's right there in your market. Let's say you've got a competitor who's doing country music and they've got a 18 share. Well, you could go try to grab part of that, maybe half of it, maybe split that. That's an old tactic. So what do you need to get started? Lease or purchase a Nautel GV2 transmitter, or you can upgrade your GV transmitter to a GV2. You need an Xperi main station or equivalent license and a signed trial agreement with Nautel. And you need to produce some content. Of course, you can just put your regular FM on the HD1, but if you want some additional content, do an HD2, an HD3, even an HD4. We are doing that. My little station in Oxford, Mississippi. We have an alt rock station there with alt rock, of course, on the HD1. We've got oldies on the HD2. And we've got a light urban AC on the HD3. So that's working out quite well for us. Check it out from Nautel. Go to nautel.com. Nautel.com is the website. And or talk to your Nautel your Nautel representative. Maybe it's Jeff Welton or Jeff Wilson or somebody else where you live. Check it out. Thanks, Nautel, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack. Our guest, episode 720. Both of our guests are engineers for a station on 720 kilohertz. And I could not have planned that even if I tried. So thanks, gentlemen, for joining us. And it's just a happy occasion. All right. Let's see. Let's jump right into at least a couple of pictures, and then we'll get some stories. Bill, we don't know what order the pictures are in. It's always a mystery. So let's pop a coin in the gumball machine and see what pops out.
Sure.
There's what is this,
base.
Bill? Yep.
So that's the tower base. So we got our, we're running at 50 kilowatts day, night. And you can see the Austin rings. You can see the lightning balls there. And, it's about it's about 6 feet from the base of from the ground to where the bottom of the bottom insulator is, and then you can see the
Why are
feed coming out of
Mhm.
the transmitter room there. That's right. It's the tuning shack. So
Tuning shack? Yeah.
mhm.
Now the first question has got to be, why are there two Austin rings? I'm not going to venture a guess. You can tell us why.
Well, they're it's suspenders and belt.
Ah.
One predominantly feeds the beacons, and the other predominantly feeds the side lights. So we've got two beacons, and each of the beacons has two 620-watt bulbs in it, and then we've
Mhm.
got a total of 21 side lights. They're 100-watt and I think 106-watt each, and they go up the side of the tower, and there's seven rows of them, or seven layers of them. So
And
and then
and
there's
just
also
for
some switching
Mhm.
at the very top of the picture. There's some switching that you could switch one Austin ring to do all of the lights, or the other one do all of the lights, or vice versa. So if we need to, it gives us a little backup.
And just for those very few engineers, or maybe there's some, this show has a lot of or a lot of radio enthusiasts who may not be engineers watching it, and so the purpose of the Austin rings, those donuts, one inside the other, man, those are hard to fry too. But you better believe that
Yep.
Homer Simpson loves those things. That is a very interesting design. They're a transformer to get
Yep.
AC power from one side of the insulator to the other. Bill, can you give us a little more explanation as to how these things work and why they're used?
Well, the thing is, the base of the tower, you see where the insulators are. That's the tower is at 50 kilowatts above ground.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that, then you've got the you can see the feed coming out of the building. You've got our little drip loop, and then
Mm-hmm.
that feed goes and it hits the tower. It kind of goes up and across, and
Yeah.
to the base of the tower, and it just makes it work. I mean, you could either do it with coils or things like that, but this is a nice, efficient way to do it, and it gives you
So,
full
Mhm.
isolation from
so
the AC that's at ground potential versus the AC that's at 50 kilowatts.
So, Suncast, I like how you zoomed in on that. Can you pick one set of Austin rings to zoom in on? And so the bigger, fatter one that is connected to the bottom, that
Yep,
is half of a transformer. It has probably what, 110 or 240 on that?
it's got 208 on it.
208. Okay. And so that actually is the primary winding of a transformer. Now, normally a transformer is wound on a steel form, a bunch of steel plates, because that makes transformers really efficient. But this one it's two rings. One excites the other, and the upper
Yep,
one has no electricity on it until the power is turned on to the bottom one. And
correct.
then it induces a similar voltage, or maybe these are designed to give you 120. I don't know.
It
But
does,
it
it does go down to 120. Yeah. So
okay,
yep,
okay.
isn't
So
that
maybe
neat?
that's why the bottom one's fatter.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the up and the whole idea here is we have to keep the tower insulated from ground. So we can't just run a power cable across that insulator. We have to keep
No,
everything set because the tower is
no,
50,000 watts. The ground is ground, and
correct.
never the two need to touch each other.
Correct. And another way you could do it is if you take your wire and wrap it around and make it into a big coil.
Big choke.
That's
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
that gives you an infinite resistance at 720 kilohertz. That'll also work too.
So
But
that
this is a nice way to do it.
some people might call that a common mode choke, in that you've got two AC power wires wrapped around and around and around, and they're parallel with each other, wrapping around and around a form. And if you look at both wires together, it's a choke that the
Correct.
RF at 720 kilohertz can't
Yep.
really get across all that. But the AC power that's going like this in the two wires, it doesn't mind taking a circuitous route round and around and around and around. It's going to come back out and go and give you 120 volts. So
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
how about that explanation?
Because it's 60 hertz. At 60 hertz, it's a nice short. It just goes the way it needs to go through the wire. But at 720 kilohertz, it's they see it as an open. So
Well,
yeah, that's how that works.
we don't have a picture of it, but let's get Pierre. Pierre, what kind of tower is yours? How is it fed at KOTZ?
Series fed insulated base. It's a hot base tower, about 720 volts, even, I think, something like that. We have a key antenna matching unit. Pretty standard. Kintronics has done our stuff for years that we use. I like Kintronics; they make great stuff. And we have Austin ring transformer at the base too, as well, and some ISO couplers for the National Weather Service and or STL and telemetry return link, and for the lighting, of course. And it's pretty standard stuff. It's nothing, really romantic.
Well, that's good to know that you have a similar AC feed system, an Austin ring transformer, as Bill does. So what you've got looks a lot like what Bill has at WGN.
Oh yeah, functionally the same, basically.
Now, Bill, I didn't see any ISO couplers, and someday we can talk about those more in depth. But do you have any on that tower? Any reason to have one?
Nope. We have nothing on the tower except for lights, because the tower was put up in 1939. So it was very, very much before 222. What is it, H now or K or whatever 222 standard we're at right now? But yeah, it's that's about all we could put on it. Unfortunately, we have 2 layers of guy wires, and that's what we've got. So it's a 10-foot face tower. It's big, and the base voltage is about 30,000 volts. So it's and it's a half wave tower. So we're at 748 feet.
So on this whole idea of an AM tower, and probably the majority of AM towers in America anyway are series fed. So the tower is insulated with usually a ceramic insulator from the ground, and the tower itself is typically a quarter of a wavelength tall. So it's going to be a different height for different parts of the AM band. And it's series fed. And that means if you want to put anything else on the tower, like lights or an FM transmitting antenna or a National Weather Service transmitting antenna or an STL, a microwave receiving antenna, you've got that problem of you've got to jump that base insulator. And there's several ways to do it, but we referred to an ISO coupler as one way to do it. And that's where, coax goes in the one end of it and coax comes in the other end of it. And the grounds of the two are insulated from each other. They actually the grounds don't connect, but inside the ISO coupler box, there's basically, 2 antennas right next to each other. They're loops of wire that are loops of copper that are just the right size, and they're close to each other. They don't touch because that would be bad. But basically, you get a great transfer of power of whatever you're trying to get through there, whether it's a tiny receiving signal from a microwave antenna or whether it's an FM transmitter that's trying to go the other way with some power. We'll have a whole show on ISO couplers someday. I think they're fascinating. And in a way, an Austin ring transformer is a little bit like an ISO coupler. So just meant for a totally different frequency. Bill, you've got, I'm sorry, somebody may have been trying to get a word in edgewise. Should I be quiet for a second? No? Okay. Bill, let's take a look at the next photo that you supplied.
Oh, it's the 50 kilowatt bug zapper.
Okay.
So those poor mosquitoes just had bad days. And, we'd sit here and get like, and you'd hear the carrier pop for a second and they'll go right back on. And yeah, that happens. And what happened was one of the hawks, the resident hawks on the towers decided to leave a snake on the tower just above the insulator there. And the mosquitoes and flies are attracted to that snake, and they love just kind of going to different spots. And yeah, that's our bug zapper.
Bill, what brand of transmitter do you have there?
We have a Harris. We've got a 3DX50 as our main, and we have a DX50 as the backup.
Oh, okay. Well, that's exactly what they have at WSM down the road. I think the WSM uses them the other way around. They use the older one as their main, and the DX, the 3DX is their backup. But anyway, so you could do a commercial. Hey, it's an AM transmitter. It's a bug zapper. It's an AM transmitter.
And a bug
it's a bug zapper. You're both right.
And you never thought that it really does work. But if you take a fluorescent light tube by the tower, it lights up fine and blinks with modulation.
We did a video at WSB in Atlanta. Charles Kinney and I we held he held a fluorescent tube, and I videoed him. We turned out the lights in the tuning house, and he did this with it, and then in post production,
the lightsaber thing.
I added the lightsaber noise from Star Wars. Yeah. Luke, I am your tower. All right, Pierre. Let's see. I wanted to ask you. You have lightning balls on your tower too, right?
Oh yeah, we do too. Yeah, they stay pretty clean actually. We have the the wind, and the rain, and blows everything off, and it cleans it. And of course, in the wintertime, the snow covers the whole thing and kind of melts a little cave in there. So I may once in a while get a short across the gap, but boy, I can't remember the last time that happened.
Well, let me ask you both what you think about this notion. I know at WSM, their tower is just about 5 miles from where I'm sitting here, and it's that one of those big Blaw-Knox diamond-shaped towers. The insulator's like, I don't know, 6 feet tall. It's 3 foot insulators, really big. Of course, they have a lightning ball gap there. And years ago, when I visited them during the summer, the hot summertime, they had like a hair dryer that wasn't turned. The heating element wasn't turned. It was just blowing air, and they had cable tied it to the ground side, and they were blowing air across the lightning balls. This was when Watt Hairston was injured. What's going on? Why are you blow drying the lightning balls? And after he probably made some untoward comment about anyway. He said, well, we get so many bugs and gnats and mosquitoes here that sometimes they kind of build up and they just form an arc that continues. And that the transmitter, sits there and stutters. Have you guys found anything like that going on?
Not me.
It's
we have a lot of mosquitoes,
And ours was mainly due to the snake incident on the tower. So
the snake, the snake.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, we'll tell you what. Let's look at one more picture, and then we'll take our next break. What Suncast? What you got for us next here? Oh, that's pretty. What's that?
Yeah. So you can see the transmitter side on the right there, and then there's the transmitter building, and there's another transmitter. Same side of the same. That's a summer versus winter picture there. So
sure.
There's the tower. The main tower is out back to the left, and the STL tower is on the right. And the STL tower, it's kind of hard to see, but it has a skirt on it. And what the skirt does is it detunes that tower so it doesn't re-radiate the signal. So it keeps our pattern, circular. So that's pretty neat.
So, and I should mention, if you ever go to an AM tower site or you see towers in the near vicinity of an AM tower, they may have some wires coming down the side, and the wires typically are insulated at points on the way up, but then they're often tied to the tower up above, and sometimes there's a tuning unit. Well, usually there would be a tuning unit at the bottom.
Like you can see on the little box at the bottom of the tower on the right side there, little white box.
Oh, yeah, there it is, that white box. Sure. Yep. And these have their two purposes. One is to kind of make the tower look invisible to the AM radio waves that are coming from the other nearby tower. We want this tower to not be a tuning fork in the air, so to speak. We want it to look invisible. But the other use is, instead of a series fed AM tower, you can have a skirt fed or a folded unipole AM tower. And in that case, we actually are trying to make the wire and the tower resonate together so that they present a proper, a decent impedance to the transmitter at that frequency. So these skirt wires can serve a couple of different purposes, right?
Yep, that's true. And another thing that if you look at on the picture that you're on now, you can see those little poles that go across. Left to right. There's 3 poles there. That's an open wire transmission line. So it has 4 wires on the outside of the transmission line, and then 2 wires in the center part of it. But that's going over to the aux tower. So back in the day, with 720 being such a low frequency, you can get away with having 6 wires in the air to be able to feed your towers. The critters don't seem to do too well with it, though, because back in the day they used to have to take raccoons out of there every so often because they get zapped. But now we're using all underground coax to get to the towers.
Okay, but you left the open wires up, even though you're using underground.
It costs money to take stuff down.
Yeah, well, it's nostalgic too. And you know what? At WSM in Nashville, I think they left their open wire up, even though I'm pretty sure they're using underground coax now. But okay.
Sure.
Hey, we're having a blast talking to Pierre Lone Wolf, who's in the Albuquerque airport, and Bill Murdoch, who is at WGN in Chicago. It's episode number 720. We're talking to engineers from 2 different AM stations that are 720 kilohertz, and that was just a happy coincidence. Our show is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. Angry Audio, man, they makes a lot of cool stuff, and I think we're going to bring up a page of a lot of the gadgets that they make. If you're building a studio, and by the way, I'm building a couple of studios in Hawaii in December, and we just ordered a bunch of Angry Audio stuff for Hawaii, a bunch of headphone amps, and also some what they call mic drops. The mic drop is this beautiful little gadget that you drill a hole, you plop it into the countertop, and it is a cough button. But you know what? A lot of engineers don't know this. You can't just put a short across the mic feed and expect that to be a good way to mute the mic. And Mike Dosh, the owner of Angry Audio, Mike could tell you all about why that doesn't work very well. It actually easily makes a pop or a clip, even if you're not using phantom power. There is that's just not a great way to do it. And he's got I don't know if it's patented or not, but Mike Dosh has a very, very quiet way to accomplish muting of a microphone by the guest. They make all kinds of things to help you build studios. Of course, we ordered some of the headphone gizmos for the announcers, and then the guest gizmos for the guests. That way they can have their own headphone amp and their own control of their headphone volume. And then we can also take that button that's on the guest gizmo, you may see it in the bottom of your screen there, and we can allow the talent to turn their mic on or off, or use it as a mute button. The Logic will let you do either one. So many cool things for your studio that are made by Angry Audio and designed a lot of these by Mike Dosh. The CS6 software processor, the signal light gadget, these studio signal lights. This is a great deal. Oh my gosh! Don't pay thousands for these stacks of lights. Pay a lot less from Angry Audio. And then the audio processors like the C4 and the Smooth and the Rebel mic processors, all available from Angry Audio. Check them out. The website is angryaudio.com. You can get their stuff from any of the typical broadcast dealers. Almost everybody carries Angry Audio stuff. Don't accept a substitute. Some people are trying to knock off the Angry Audio stuff. I wouldn't go for that. Also, our show brought to you by Max Connect. Max Connect started out, with the whole wireless project, giving you prioritized cellular data, so you can have a stadium full of people and you still get good data on your cell phone connection, your data connection, so you can do your remote broadcast, whatever you need to do. And if you have a transmitter site, for example, that is not served by any other means, I know we got SpaceX now, but you may want to check into Max Connect. You get a fixed IP address, and that might be very important to you. Let's say you've got one of those Burke 600X plus units out there at the transmitter site, you probably want a fixed IP address to talk to that. Well, that's where Max Connect can really help you out. They also have a whole bunch of other services at Max Connect. Go to their website and find out about these services. If you need a studio built, you need a renovation of your transmitter site, you need a new remote control system put in that makes things very automatic. You basically want your life to get better, so you don't have so many problems with your transmitter or studios. Talk to Max Connect. They have very qualified engineers who have done these kind of projects over and over and over again, and they can really help you out. Oh, and as we're being reminded on the screen, they do repairs too. So if you need something repaired, well, either they do it or they'll send you to the people who do. Max Connect at MAXXKONNECT.com. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack here in the Telos Alliance studio in Nashville. Chris Tarr is living off the grid today, and not by choice. And we're here with Pierre Lone Wolf at the Albuquerque airport, and also Bill Murdoch in this WGN studio. I got to ask Pierre a follow-up question. Pierre, you mentioned snow, and you mentioned the lightning balls making a little cave that the snow, got melted around. Tell me about snow and your AM transmitter side. What's that like?
Well, it's easy to walk through the gate when the snowbank's over the gate. So that's some of our snow. What usually happens is the winter we'll get blizzards and the snow blows. It'll cover up the base of the tower, basically. And what happens, I used to worry about it, but what happens, you got to remember that snow is fresh water, basically, with a little bit of dust in it. So what happens then is that when the snow covers it in a blizzard, the isolation transformer heats it up enough so it makes a little cave underneath, over, where the isolation transformer is, and it keeps itself happy. Plus, my feed line from the transmitter does the same thing. It's all under the snow and it's warm, so it kind of melts its own cave out to the transmitter and up and all that stuff. So I don't worry about it anymore.
Does snow ever knock you off the air such that you have to go clean the snow away from something?
When it's wet snow and sticks to the tower and turns to ice, I've had that maybe once or twice. Sometimes what happens in the Arctic that in January, February, it'll turn 34 degrees and it'll start raining and snowing. And that's when you can start getting troubles with that. The guy wires start loading up, the tower starts loading up, and, that's when we have problems. Then basically what'll happen, we just let it sit, because then you wait till it gets cold again. And if there's any ice buildup where, across the isolation transformer of the Johnny Balls, then I'll go out and gently remove it. And then we're back in operation, because basically water is an insulator, fresh water anyway.
Now I'm talking to Pierre as if he's the only one in the conversation here that gets snow. But Bill, you're no stranger to snow at WGN, that big field on the west side of northwest part of Chicago. What are your snow troubles?
That's true. It's you're saying the freezing rain is what will kill you, because once that it freezes and it rains and it freezes, it rains and freezes, you get a layer of ice on the tower, and then you're in trouble. We've had one night where I had to spend the night out at the transmitter, and it started snowing, and we ended up having, I think, 20 inches of snow, but it was the wet, heavy snow, and it was blowing from the north. And it's a matter of keeping it clean, and we did have snow go all the way up up across the insulator and everything else. So we went to the backup tower, and then grounded the big tower, cleaned it off, and then we could put the big tower back on again. But it's nice having the aux tower there, so we can switch to it if we need to.
Sure, understood. It seems like a number of the 50 kilowatt, the big clear channel stations have an aux tower. I know they do down the road here at WSM. They don't like going to it because their aux tower won't handle 50 kilowatts. Bill, will yours handle the full power?
Oh yeah, it will. But it's a shorter tower. It's only 250 feet.
Yeah.
So it's significantly. We're running. I think we get 63.8 amps of RF current on that tower.
Mm.
So it's got some big coils.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Now, Pierre, you don't have a backup tower, do you, for your AM?
No, we don't. No, it's just it'd be way too expensive, you know. So
Yeah.
that was one of the reasons why we got our little low power FM in Kotzebue in case it went off, you know. And we have translators in all our villages, and we have a web stream, so you know that was it was cheaper to do it that way.
And I take it the FM that's in Kotzebue, that's on a different tower. Is that in town?
Yeah, it's in our studio tower. It's a 80-foot tower,
Oh, okay.
and it's just you know a cross dipole antenna, 100 watts.
Let's look at a couple more pictures here that Bill has supplied. Speaking of snow.
Yep. And there's the Ox Tower, and there's my cross country skiing over to the Ox Tower.
Oh,
I
my
gotta
goodness.
buy
That's
you a
the
snow machine.
Yeah, it's not that far. It's only it's only like 600 feet across to get over there, so it's not too bad.
Do we have any more pictures, Suncast? Oh, yeah. Okay, what's
Yeah.
this?
So there's the big one and the little one we painted. We painted this summer. So we painted the little one and we painted the top band of the big one this summer. We've got a where we will paint a couple three bands of the tower every year, and then do the other tower the next year, and then after 5 years, you're starting back at the top again. So kind of like what they do with the Golden Gate Bridge, paint and go, paint and
Mhm.
go.
If they're on the tower painting the backup tower, the short one,
Yep.
do you have to make any adjustments to your transmission power on the big one?
Yeah, I had to reduce down to 25 kilowatts to keep it within the ANSI regulate. And also, well, it's fine for ANSI, even for the workers limit and for the non-worker limit. But we're getting sparks and things like that. So let's we'll be nice to the guys. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
we do reduce power, and it doesn't really affect us that significantly to reduce the power when we're especially in the metro area. You lose coverage obviously in the fringe areas, but that's worker safety is very important. So we make sure we do that.
Bill, earlier you referenced your ground system as being extra big and made with some extra copper. Tell us about what's under the ground there.
Yeah, it's typically your ground systems would go out a quarter wave. And for us, that would be about 300 feet, and these go out 900 feet for the big tower, and then for the little tower, it's about 500 feet that it goes out. And then where the two ground systems hit each other, there's a bonding strap where the two ground systems hit. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've got some nice grounds there.
How old is that copper?
Well, the last time it was redone was back in the 80s, so that
Oh,
would make
okay.
it
Okay.
40 years or so. Yeah.
Wow. So the
No,
whole field was torn up to put in new copper in the 80s?
for the new copper, yeah, and the original copper, yeah, was put in there in 1939, and back then that was before we. Right now we've got a swamp to the north of us, but back
Mhm.
then there was no swamp over there, so they
Ah.
rerouted a river so they could put in a water filtration plant. So that river helped create the swamp that's there now. So helps with the
Uh,
ground system.
I'm sure. And you've got a move coming up. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. Pierre, what about your ground system? They really went overboard at WGN. Is yours more standard?
First of all, mine just lays on the ground because you can't
What?
plow tundra. You
Okay.
can't plow tundra.
Mm.
Otherwise, you'll have a deep hole. So, it's basically 330 feet, 120 radials, and It just lays on the tundra, and the tundra kind of like swallows it up. But I did it. I redid it once, and I'll have to redo it again next year because we have snow machines and four wheelers and duck hunters and all that stuff that'll pull a radial out here and there, get tangled up with 3 or 4 radials. So, yeah, we have. I think we have a special dispensation from the FCC where we don't have to bury our ground radials because we're on the tundra.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. And is it a standard, quarter wave out?
Yeah,
the tower?
yeah, it's all standard. Yeah, it's just above ground. And nobody steals it unless they're wrapping it around their 4-wheeler axle or snow machine track.
That's interesting. You bring up that nobody steals it. And one of my tower sites in Mississippi, we had some thievery going on a few months ago. They actually stole the AC power wires that went from the transformer on the pole down the pole underground and then up to the meter base. Wow. Anyway, I'm amazed that you don't have a theft problem there.
No, we never had an issue.
Is there no place to sell it?
Do with it?
Yeah,
there's no way.
I have an accidental theft problem that we had at one of the places I was at. We had an AM station, and the tower was on the top of the roof, and it was a flat roof, and it went across, and the wires, went across the roof, and all that, and so there were some air conditioning guys who were doing some work for another tenant of the building. They're like, yeah, we got rid of all that wire that was on the roof here. So you didn't need that, did you? Yeah, we kind of do. And then we had the AM in our phone system, and it was a whole mess. And we were the FM of an AM FM combo that were owned by different owners, but it was formerly co-owned combo. And then we got all the AMRF back into our phone system again. It's like, thanks. You guys don't need that screening here, do you? No.
So before we're going to take another break here in a second. When we come back, we'll talk about propagation. If you guys ever hear each other, if you're off the air for maintenance, can you hear the other? There's 3,000, according to a website I went to, there's 3,200 miles, Great Circle miles, between your two transmitter sites, or very close to there, or a little over 5,000 kilometers between the two. Or if you're interested in nautical miles, it's about 2,800 nautical miles between WGN and KOTZ. There you go. There's the numbers. Same thing I was reading it off of. I hope that's kind of close to right. So I'd be curious about propagation and what, if you've ever heard each other, that kind of thing. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by our friends at Broadcasters General Store, and they represent everything you need to build radio stations. Yeah, we just ordered a bunch more stuff from BGS and had it all shipped out to Hawaii, to Maui. And one thing they carry is broadcast tools, the whole line of broadcast tools goodies. These things, man, they will help you out in a pinch. Sometimes you just need to get contact closures from here to there, or you need to be able to remote into somewhere and close something. Maybe it doesn't need to be part of your remote control system. Maybe it's kind of a backup to your remote control system. Maybe you just want to know when somebody opens the door and have it separate from all kinds of possibilities. Well, Broadcast Tools makes the IO Sentinel 4G2. That means Generation 2. It's a web-based GPIO interface. It's a robust, full-featured Ethernet-based data acquisition and remote control device. It has 4 optically isolated status inputs and 4 programmable relays. The IO Sentinel 4G2's 4 isolated inputs can be configured for wet or dry contact closure, status, logic monitoring. The 4 1-amp single-pole double-throw relay outputs can be configured for on, off, pulsed, or reboot operation. And you can monitor it or control it over any IP network. You can do it locally, or if you can, get yourself into it remotely by IP, you can certainly do that. Here's what's also cool. You can connect 2 of these back to back over a network or over the public internet. And that way, if you get a contact closure at one end, you get that closure at the other end. Maybe you've got a satellite receiver at the transmitter site because that's the only place you can put it, and you want to bring some contact closures back. Well, here's your answer right here. These will bring them right back to your radio station for you. You probably have the audio taken care of. This will take care of the contact closures coming back. This is really cool from Broadcast Tools, as are so many things that Don Wingett designs and makes at Broadcast Tools. And you can get it all from Broadcaster's General Store. Their website is bgs.cc. bgs.cc on the screen, just a small example of all the different things you can get there. I have been buying from BGS for years and years and years and years and years, even back to my engineering for Sam Phillips days back in Memphis, Tennessee. And their phone number, they are set up to take your phone calls. They're very friendly too at 352-622-7700. It's on the website, or maybe you can memorize it like I have after saying it 720 times. Check it out from Broadcaster's General Store. And thanks to BGS and Broadcast Tools for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. It's Kirk Harnack. Chris Tarr is off the grid today, not by choice. And we're joined by Pierre Lone Wolf and Bill Murdoch. Gentlemen, let me ask Suncast, were there any more pictures to show? Was that it? Oh, one more. There we go. Bill, what are we looking at?
That's looking to the north edge of the tower, with the swamp on the left, and that's I-290, the expressway, in the background there. So, and it's pretty wild when you look at the curve. It's the curve of the guy wire. You can see it goes kind of straight down, and then it goes straight across to where the where the anchor point is. So it's pretty neat. You don't think of guy wires as being curved, but yeah, they're very curved.
Oh yeah, and there's some cool math that describes that. Is it a portion of an ellipse, or is it more complicated than that? Not that ellipses are simple.
Maybe parabola or something. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, maybe that. I don't know.
And then you can also see on this one. You can also see the now it's a little bigger than a Johnny ball. It's the insulator, on the guy wire. So what you do is you split up the guy wires so that they're equal to less than a tenth of a wavelength. So then that stops the guy wires from distorting the signal. So it makes them also look invisible to the tower, just like you do with the skirts for the other towers when you detune. If you detune a water tower or a grain elevator or other metal object near your tower to keep it from distorting your signal.
I'm glad you said that. We've never, I don't know if we've ever done a good explanation of AM guy wires. And if you're traveling, friends, and you see a tower, you can determine pretty quickly if it's likely an AM tower, because if it has, little balls, and I don't mean the big orange balls that keep planes from hitting it. I mean, these breakup insulators along the guy wires, it's probably an AM tower. And if it doesn't have any insulators breaking up the guy wires along the way, it ain't an AM tower, because those are going to re-radiate signal like crazy. And that's not what you want. That would be just a circus. A circus of RF.
And then also across those we have some chokes that prevents excessive voltage buildup, because on some towers you'll hear like a banging as the voltage jumps across the Johnny balls, or it jumps across the insulators. So
especially when a thunderstorm is near.
Exactly. Yeah. Some towers it goes.
Oh wow!
It's the wildest thing. So, but with the chokes, that diminish it. Actually, that keeps them from the voltage from, getting so large that it jumps.
Now, I'm hoping Pierre has a story waiting, but Bill, I'll go ahead and ask you if you could fill us in on. You've got a move coming. You're going to move the tower, but not very far.
Well, right now we've got a construction permit out to move the tower northeast about 400 feet. So that what that'll do is, give us a little more space to the south side of the tower, which could be a real estate opportunity for people. And that also would give us the chance to put up a new tower that meets all of the current specs. So and they can also we've designed it for being able to put a couple of FMs up there, and other various services and gear that we really can't do right now with the way the tower is, because like I said, it was put up in 1939. So and we spend quite a bit of money every year, scraping and painting it. So that'll
Yeah.
eliminate some of that for a few years.
So,
But
and actually, that's another question that ties into that. You really can't do anything to change the lighting system that's on that tower now, because it would change. It would bring about a domino effect of additional filings and stuff you'd have to do with the tower.
Yeah,
But
the
you've
current
got
lighting system is all grandfathered in, and that's
Yeah.
specifically part of our license. And if we were to do a new lighting system, we'd have to go with what the current standards are. So right now we have 2 beacons. We'd have to go to 3 beacons, and then we'd also have to have flashing side lights and the whole deal with that. So there's a lot of things we need to do to change it. If we did go to LED, we'd have to we would lose our grandfathering. So
Yeah.
that changes a lot of it. So.
Well, it's interesting that you've got a number of different reasons to replace the tower, and part of those reasons are you need to move the tower for other opportunistic reasons. And you mentioned right now you can't put FM antennas to transmit on that tower, and it sure would be nice. You got the vertical real estate; it'd be nice to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. That's I think it's fascinating how all this stuff works out. Pierre,
Mhm.
Bill's putting up with a lot of complications and some exciting things that aren't exactly engineering, but they involve his oversight on all that. So Pierre, what's exciting going on in Kotzebue?
Well, for me, I
your
suppose
ta-
it's dealing with climate change
Uh-huh.
issues around our site. Part of it is sinking, part of it is rising, part of it's going underwater. Trying to get gravel and insulation laid down, straighten out the fence. Dealing with animals, mostly. I mean, run over by a muskox one time. Tried to punch a moose because it scared me going out. But yeah, animal stuff. But more of it's environmental stuff with the changing of the tundra and stuff. It's getting hotter, it's raining more and stuff like that. That's the big thing I'm battling now.
Gotcha. It's thinking about, both of you operate AM stations that are relatively well listened to. I mean, WGN, is just a legendary radio station. And in Kotzebue, Pierre, do you feel like you still have a worthwhile number of listeners to the AM as opposed to the FMs and the translators that you've put on?
Oh yeah. All of our villagers listen to the AM, of course. So we web stream, and we have a large Russian audience, I'm sure, on the other side. That I think there's more people on the Russian side than there is on the Alaska side there. So yeah, they listen to us on the Russian side. So we have 8,000 people in the Northwest Arctic. Red Dog Mine is probably 1,500 people. We have a translator there. We get a lot of skywave propagation. I've gotten QSL cards from radar sites in Canada, Finland, all over the place. And people listen to us. Every once in a while we get an email, to the station. It's really strange. A lot of people listen to us in the 48 on our web stream.
Yeah.
Simply because we're not quite a public radio station with nothing but classical, but we're not quite a commercial station, so we play a wide variety of music. If it's good, we play it, basically.
I'm telling you, with all your Russian audience, you should get some. You definitely should get some Smirnoff underwriting going on there.
Hey, I had a Russian give me a bottle of Russian rum. It was terrible. But we drank it.
Oh, hey, gentlemen, I wish we had 2 hours, but we don't. I've got one more announcement to make, and then when we come back, I'm going to be looking for a tip of the week from each of you, something that other engineers might be able to grab, carry with them, use in the future, or just some interesting tidbit of information. But kind of a final word, 1 or 2 or 3 minutes from each of you coming up. This Week in Radio Tech with Pierre Lone Wolf and Bill Murdoch. This has been a real enjoyable show, and there's a little bit more to come, so don't go away. Hey, our show is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics and this product they have called the Virtual Rack. Now, you know that I've been very much involved with virtualizing broadcast infrastructure. And all that means is broadcast infrastructure things like audio processors, phone systems, audio consoles, intercom systems, all that stuff that is not delivered inside proprietary hardware. It means that it is software, oftentimes very similar to the software that's running in proprietary hardware. But this is software that runs in commercial off-the-shelf hardware, or like a COTS server, commercial off-the-shelf server. So Broadcast Bionics has something called Virtual Rack. And Virtual Rack makes this easy. Now, I'll tell you why it's important for this to be easy. Hey, as engineers, we know a lot about computers and keeping different computers running, and Windows systems. Some of you, not me, some of you are very good at Linux systems. I'm pretty good with Mac OS, and I'm okay with some server hypervisors. But one thing that I don't know much about, because it's actually a little bit difficult to learn, is a Docker environment, where you have Docker containers that are running in a Docker runtime environment on a Linux machine. Now, this is what the IT industry is going to. I've told the story, before of meeting a guy who runs a big server center, a big data center here in Middle Tennessee, where I live. And I asked him, "You guys use any of these Docker containers yet?" And he said, "That's all we have. Everything we do is on Docker containers." So Docker containers is great for transactions and microservices. Well, Telos, as well as a couple other companies, Sound4 and 2WCOM, have made a number of products that give you the equivalent of an audio console or a codec or a phone system or an audio processor. And it's a little complicated to get this stuff installed and working well. In fact, you can pay our experts at Telos to do that for you, and that's what most people do. But here's another approach. Broadcast Bionics is making the Virtual Rack. It comes delivered. It's a server, a couple different sizes available. It comes delivered with this front end that you can use, and it's very friendly. It's kind of like an app store. You browse into the Virtual Rack. You choose the things that you want to install. Hey, I need 2 audio consoles. Hey, I need 2 audio processors. Oh, I need some codecs. I need a phone system. You click all those things. You hit go or apply, and the Virtual Rack goes out and installs the latest versions of all these products. Now, they're still not licensed. You still have to do that. In other words, you got to pay the piper. You got to pay the people who wrote the software that you're installing. But you get it licensed, and wham bam, it works. And it sets up all the IP addresses that you want. It sets up the audio over IP network inside the server for you. It's so absolutely brilliant and easy. And there's even systems available inside for failover. So you could buy 2 of these Virtual Rack servers and have automatic failover. Just absolutely brilliant stuff. So check it out. The website is Broadcast Bionics. You can Google that, Broadcast Bionics. At the bottom, there's some videos you could watch about applying this, how it works in real life. And there was even a TWiRT episode a little over a year ago with Dan McQuillan describing and showing how Virtual Rack works. Check it out from Broadcast Bionics at bionics.co.uk. Thanks a lot, Broadcast Bionics, for sponsoring our show. All right, we got a couple minutes left here with Pierre Lone Wolf and Bill Murdoch. Pierre, I want to hit you up first in case your flight decides to take off. What words of wisdom would you like to leave with all of us, please?
Okay, probably more of an engineering philosophy. Buy quality equipment the first time around. Install it right. Find your replacement now, especially at my age. A good IT kid will save you a lot of problems. And if you don't own a solid-state transmitter by now, you're losing money.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to write those. That is great advice. I'm going to put those in the show notes with bullet points. Here's Pierre alone with bullet points. And Pierre, your first one about buying quality equipment, that means I probably need to cancel my order on Temu for a transmitter and an antenna, right?
Yeah, those China ones,
Yeah. I've
I'll
seen
tell
some
you a
rough
story,
stuff.
though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, right before the COVID thing, we ordered, 10 or 12 VS300s, right before the new little blue box came out
Uh-huh.
from Nautel. And now I want the blue box, so I got to figure out if I'm going to get the blue box or stick with the VS300.
Well, VS300 is tried and true, and the new VX from Nautel. It's a great box and very modular.
Yep.
So yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
It's tough. Good advice, Pierre. I'm going to go back, listen to the show, and write those things down. Okay, Bill Murdoch from WGN. What words of wisdom would you like to leave us?
I'm going to go in a different direction. For the sake of the industry, we need to be as aggressive as we can now about the AM for Every Vehicle Act, because it's the time that we're in lame deck. We'll be in the lame deck session pretty soon. And, we really want to make sure that, people have access to AM and FM radio, because, if AM disappears from the dashboard, FM will not be very far behind, unfortunately. And we like to be able to provide the best, curated information we can and the best emergency information we can for free, and we do public service, and we want to make sure that we can service the public. That's it. That's get a hold of your congressman and your senators and stuff to make sure that this bill becomes a law, because we want to stay on the dashboard.
We sure do. And you brought up the first time I've ever heard anybody bring it up. If we lose AM on the dashboard, you can probably see the end of the road somewhere where we would lose FM as well. The financial incentives for automakers are not there for our services. We don't kick them back money like some of the other paid services do.
And they can't monetize the data. So if it's other other services, they can monetize the data.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, Pierre and Bill, thank you so much for being with us. What a great show. I've had a smile on my face the whole show. Great stories and good technical information. I really appreciate both of you. We never talked about propagation. Do you guys ever bother each other?
No.
No.
No? At 32.
No. But I will shut off the transmitter and bring a good radio out to see if I can hear you.
You know what? Attach it to the tower. So we've done some DXing on our tower when we had to do some work one night, and we picked up some stations from Mexico. Believe it or not, it was a hoot. And out east, we'll get Norway and Sweden. People will send us DX cards in the winter. What happens is the BBC also has a service at 720 kilohertz, and they turn off from midnight to 10 seconds after midnight, and that's when people pick us up. It's the wildest.
For 10
thing.
seconds. Wow.
10 seconds.
Wow. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you. Suncast, thanks for a great job in producing today's show. I appreciate you very much as well. And we will be back next week with another edition of This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.